Thank you. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here this evening for the meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Before we get started, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, so would everybody please rise? And Councilman Lupinacci, would you lead us?
My pleasure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, thank you all for being here this evening, and thank you all at home for watching this meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Carmel. Today's date is Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. And tonight's Town Board meeting is a Town Board work session, but we also have two public hearings this evening. One of the public hearings is on the proposed local law. This is a continuation of a public hearing on a proposed local law amending 15676 of the Town Code of the Town of Carmel entitled Wireless Telecommunications Equipment and Devices. Then we have a public hearing on the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2018, including the general fund, highway fund, as well as water districts, sewer districts, park districts, fire protection districts, garbage districts, and lighting districts. And our public hearing number 2 is on the fire protection contracts and the ambulance district contracts for fiscal year 2018 in the Town of Carmel. So for the record, all board members are present with us this evening with the exception of Councilman Lombardi, who cannot be with us this evening due to a work obligation. And we have our town clerk, Ann Spofford, all the way down to my right. All the way down to my left is Greg Fulchetti. He's the Carmel Town Council. Before the board convened here for the general public meeting, we met at 6:30 p.m. in executive session with John Fulchetti, the engineer consultant for the Town of Carmel, to discuss a contractual matter with him. So at this time, I'm going to ask, do we have to read the notice of the public hearing again, Ann, for the local law on the wireless telecommunications and equipment?
We do not.
Is there anyone here, this public hearing, we kept it open from last week regarding the telecommunication, wireless, and equipment devices amendment to the town code. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to come up and comment on that since we left this open? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Joan Lafergie, 950 Route 6. I gathered some information. I had told you, Kenny, I was going to bring down to you. I left copies for everyone regarding the health effects.
Do you have those copies?
I left them for you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Everyone
Thank
has
you.
them.
Yep, we have them here.
I have with me Jeff Smith.
Hi, I'm a resident of Mayapack, and I am here as a resident of Mayapack, not a representative of Verizon Wireless, T-Mobile, Structure Consulting Group, and any other affiliated group. I'm here as a citizen of Mayapack.
Okay, great. Thanks for being here.
Okay.
Okay, Joan.
Once again, I do not wish to have that on my building next to me. We discussed that at the last meeting, and it's too close in proximity to my building. It's only a few feet away, and right next to bedrooms on top of the building. That is residential. It's a mixed-use property, and therefore, I just wanted to make this known that I'm against it. Oh, thank you. And I just received another photo showing better proximity to one of the bedrooms to where you're going to be having the...
Similar to the last time, what you're talking about right now is a planning board issue when the public hearing is at the planning board. This is to go over a new law. It's
I know
not to
that.
talk about
That's
a project.
why I also gave you some information that you
I'm
need
with
to
you,
look at.
but you keep talking about a project next to your building. Like, it's about the new law on what is in this proposed new law. It's not about an application that's in front of the planning board right now. It's the different venue. That's you could talk to us. We can't go over to the planning board and said, hey, you know, a resident said X, Y, and Z. You need to go tell the planning board that. We're autonomous.
I'm
between
aware
the
of that.
two.
I'm waiting for that planning board
Okay.
meeting. But I was asked to come back by Mr. Schmidt with any other paperwork regarding
Perfect.
anything else I may have. And also, I believe Mr. Smith would like to speak on this for just a moment.
This is
Generally, I
on,
just-
This is on the proposed amendments to the code for the right? This is
Yes,
all
and I
related
went
to that?
through- Joni provided me that, I went through it, and I've been on this side of, hundreds of these in Fairfield County. It's comprehensive, and it's exactly what's presented everywhere else. I will say, and I don't know if this is a planning board issue or a town board issue, I have free of charge offer my services to any advice. I've been doing this for 20 years. Any questions need to be answered, because I know telecommunications, wireless, fiber, it kind of all gets mixed together. People have preconceived notions about it, so if there is any questions you need me to answer, I'd be happy to answer them. That said, I think it's comprehensive, it's what it should be, it's what's standard for every other facility and hundreds of these meetings I've been to. Now I'm gonna step into my citizen Mayapack role.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if it's you guys or the planning board, but some of the stuff needs to be enforced a little better. I can give you specific examples, but as you said, I think that's more for the planning board, maybe.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example, the site that's located on the funeral home. If you notice, it looks like the site's wearing pants that are 6 inches too short. The screening should have been extended to the base of the deck. Regarding the quick overview I did of the plans on Joni's site, and once again, realizing that that's a planning board issue, the beta sector on that site is way too close to someone's bedroom. I think if working with Verizon, working with all the carriers, I think if that was communicated to them, they'd be happy to move the site. And I think if that's a planning board issue, Joni, I'll go with you to the planning board and let
It
them know.
is. It's a planning board issue, and the town planner will be involved in that, as well as the town engineer and the planning board members. So that's something you need to raise at the planning board level.
Gotcha.
Maybe,
I'd be happy to help you with that.
maybe something you could do, though, is give a recommendation, maybe in regards to proximity for the code that we're proposing.
Okay.
And maybe if that's something that we would be implementing, so we don't have to worry about a situation like this arising in the future. If there is a concern about proximity to
Well,
bedroom
you know what, it's
or-
all in your,
The proposed law.
I was gonna
in the
say,
doc-
I think,
I thought so. I didn't think
it's
that there
in
was
there,
anything
yeah.
that was-
documentation there specific, I can't find it's page 6 of this looks like the FCC guidelines, where they show the signal path of the antennas, and they have what's called a main lobe, which is where the carrier is trying to hit Route 6, and either direction to get coverage. And then they have what's called side lobes. Some of those side lobes would be directly pointing within probably 50 feet of one of Joni's tenants' rooms. So I think she does, once again, realize it has to go with the planning board, but I think that is a valid concern. Regarding anything else in here, I think it's mostly on specific sites. Once again, maybe a planning board issue and not as comprehensive as this document, because you guys have covered everything. But the planning board, being on the other side, the carriers will take every advantage to increase their signal and kind of dodging rules, where you can't allow them to do it.
Well, that's kind of why we tried to put in as much as we could in the proposed law, even a rendering being put up, so we could see what it looks like prior to
Which
it
is
being approved.
More in-depth than I've seen, and is good, and as a matter of
Yes.
fact, in one of those, from Pinnacle, some of the documentation they've provided, there's a picture where you can clearly see that this is not, and I think Joni has a picture of it. It's just common sense.
Yeah.
You don't want to be standing or have anyone sleeping 50 feet from an antenna, you know, so. And once again, if there's any answers, I'll leave you guys my card. If there's any questions you guys have regarding this or any other, you hear so many different rumors about what's going on with telecom in this town. I know we have several large towers going up. I don't know who to speak to about that. I hope we retain some of the rights to rent out space on those towers and are managing them ourselves, because it could be very profitable.
The new
Could be
towers of the
very
county.
profitable.
Which is why the county's
That would
putting
be
it
the
on their
county.
land.
Excellent,
You
yeah.
lease this tower.
And I know Homeland Towers, I've worked with them before, so it's a good vendor. I have nothing but good things to say about them. I just want to make sure we're getting our nut, because it's valuable services. Especially on a tower, you might have 4 or 5 carriers, each at $4,000 a month. That's good rental income. So, that's it for me.
Okay, good, thank
I
you.
appreciate everyone listening.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, you're welcome.
I just want to work with the town and have open communication, so thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Joan.
Thanks, Joan.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Okay, so we're going to leave the public hearing open on this proposed local law till at least the 21st of this month, and at such time, we may act on it and close the public hearing at that point. And seekers, we're going to have to go through seeker because there's a type 2 that we're going to have to, town attorney's going to have to bring us through, and then the board can consider adopting the local law. And that is anticipated that we're going to be doing that on the 21st, November 21st, to adopt that law. So if the public has any further comments, you'll continue to be able to comment on this local law up until at least the 21st. So if you'd like to come back at some point and comment before the board prior to then, that's fine, because the public hearing is still open. All right, so we're going to move along to public hearing number 1. This is on the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2018, including the general town fund, highway funds, water, sewer, park, fire protection district, garbage districts, and lighting districts. So at this time, I'm going to ask the town clerk, Ann Spofford, to please read the notice of the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel will conduct a public hearing on the 8th day of November 2017 at Town Hall 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter that evening as possible, in regard to the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2018, including the general town fund, highway funds, as well as all water districts, sewer districts, park districts, fire protection districts, garbage district, and lighting districts. And be it further noticed that pursuant to Section 108 of the town law, the proposed salaries of the following officials for fiscal year 2018 are specified as follows. Supervisor, $120,000. Town council members each, $21,000. Town clerk, $91,500. And highway superintendent, $124,000. And be it further noticed that the preliminary budget for the town of Carmel has been completed and filed in the office of the town clerk, Town Hall 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, where it is available for public inspection during office hours. At said public hearing, any resident may be heard in favor or against the preliminary budget as compiled, or for or against any item or items contained therein. The town board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. By order of the town board of the town of Carmel, Ann Spofford, town clerk.
Okay, thank you, Ann, for the reading of the notice of the public hearing. At this time, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Schneider and Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is open. For the residents, if you haven't had an opportunity to review the preliminary budget, which was adopted by the town board on October 18th, it's been online. There's copies of it that have been available at the town clerk's office. If you haven't had a chance to review the budget, there's copies of the budget. If you'd like to come up and get them now, they're available on the table behind Ann. So if anybody wants a copy of that while we're discussing this, you can come up and get it at this time. If not, we're just going to ask if there's anybody here at this time that would like to come up and comment on the proposed 2018 budget for the town of Carmel for the general highway and special districts within the town. Anybody want to come up and comment at this time? Come on up. Come on to the podium. Okay. You sure? It's a $44 million budget. 28 of it are the general highway and budget, and the remainder is the special districts. Okay, if not, then we're going to close the public hearing. One more time, anybody?
Any takers?
Any takers at all?
the first time I've ever
It's your
seen a
money.
budget hearing.
It's your money.
Going once.
So you're okay with the budget then? Okay. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And the vote is on it is next week.
Yes, the vote, the town board is expected to, and we will be voting to adopt the budget on the 15th, November 15th. So next Wednesday, we have to, by law, adopt it by November 20th. November 20th falls on a weekend, so we're going to adopt it on the 15th, next Wednesday.
Done that before.
What's that, Greg? Okay. All right, so that public hearing has been closed. Next public hearing is, this public hearing number 2 is on the fire protection district contracts and the ambulance district contracts for fiscal year 2018. I'm going to ask the town clerk once again to read the notice of the public hearing for the fire protection contracts and ambulance district contracts. Ann?
Notice is hereby given that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel will conduct a public hearing on the fire protection contracts and the ambulance district contracts for the year 2018 to be held on the 8th day of November 2017 at the Town Hall, 60 McAlpin Avenue, Mahopac, New York, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter that evening as possible. Said contracts to be advertised and posted as follows. The contractor is the Mahopac Falls Volunteer Fire Department, Inc. for fire protection services, Fire Protection District Number 1. The amount is not to exceed $753,460. Mahopac Volunteer Fire Department, Inc., Fire Protection Services for Fire Protection District Number 2. The amount is not to exceed $1,400,000. Carmel Fire District and Carmel Fire Department, Inc., Fire Protection District Number 3 for Fire Protection Services, the amount not to exceed $727,000. Carmel Volunteer Ambulance Corps, Ambulance Services for Carmel Ambulance District Number 1, $150,000. North Salem Volunteer Ambulance Corps, Ambulance Services for Carmel Ambulance District Number 1, not to exceed $12,800. At said public hearing, all interested persons shall be heard on the subject thereof. The town board will make every effort to assure that the public hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodations should contact the town clerk. By order of the town board of the town of Carmel, Ann Spofford, town clerk.
Okay, Ann, thank you for the reading of the notice of the public hearing. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to open the public hearing from the board.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so moved by Councilman Schneider, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the public hearing is open at this time. Is there any members of the public that are here with us now that would like to come up and comment on public hearing number 2 on the fire protection district contracts and the ambulance district contract for 2018? Come on up at this time. Once, twice, that's it?
Hi, Jean Hopper, Mayapack. We originally, or you originally, the town, had the Mayapack Volunteer Fire Department at 1.2 million? Am I correct?
That's correct.
And it's now
For this year.
1.4 is what you're putting in the budget?
That's what's been proposed and requested by the Mayapack Fire Department.
Okay. Because I know they had requested the 200,000 extra.
It's currently in the preliminary budget. It's in our preliminary budget that, for 2018, as of right now,
At 1.4.
at 1.4, yes.
So we went up to 200,000 to reward them
It
the
was- that's what
200,000 they
they
requested.
requested a $200,000 increase from 2017 to 2018.
Right.
So per their request, it was put in my budget, the tentative budget, and then it was adopted as a preliminary budget by the town board. It was left in there, so it's still in the preliminary budget at this time.
Okay, and that vote will be next Wednesday,
Well,
Tuesday?
the vote is
Week
next.
from today.
Right.
15th, okay. And you are the ones who are voting on that budget, correct? All
That's
right.
correct.
I just have a few questions about that, because there's, as you know, a lot been going on with Facebook. Mayapack News posted a couple of stories, and we've discussed this. So I think in the respect to integrity, honesty, and transparency, let's talk about that a little bit. So the proposed budget then for the fire department, or fire protection district, is over $3 million that we're paying. Is that correct, the totals?
Total?
That Ann had mentioned? What's the total on that? It's close to 3 million.
It's over 3.
Over 3 million, okay. So just in honor of the taxpayer, I think someone should be asking the question that there's no way that the firehouse can come up with that 200,000 on their own in a different manner. Have we asked that question? Has that been exhausted?
We have,
There is, but then the question could also be, could they come up with 400,000? There is, they have reserves. But I've dealt with finance in fire protection before, and one thing that you don't want to do is deplete your reserves too far. And unfortunately, there was the theft which had resulted in a extremely large deficiency in any ability to
absolutely.
purchase equipment going forward. So
Right.
when you're delivering fire service, EMS service, it's imperative to make sure that your first responders have the appropriate equipment necessary to deliver the job that's needed. And,
Of course.
It's a concern that I am still juggling to figure out if it's going to be more appropriate to keep it at that 1.2, or we raise it to the 1.4. And up until yesterday, I think we still received additional information coming in. So it's something that I have been very vocal about my concerns, even previous to things coming to light. I've been very honed in regards to the finances, and there's more information that's coming through that is giving us better background to make the decision, but I myself am still undecided if I believe that the 1.4 is deemed necessary, or if they could operate on 1.2, or if there's something in between that's more appropriate, and that's the decision that we'll be making in the next week.
I mean, for years, there was never a question, obviously. I mean, the budgets were passed for our fire department. You know, I don't think anyone would disagree that we need good fire protection. When you call 911, you want someone to come. We don't want to have to second-guess a truck breaking down or whatever like that. I guess my question would be that why that wasn't addressed the previous 12 years. You know, they had the funds. Let's just go back for a while, and could have purchased trucks. We were giving them the money that we were requesting, and we, in good faith as taxpayers, were giving them everything they asked for. No one ever questioned it. I think the only reason we're questioning it now is things have come to light, and as the town board, there is a division in this community now. And in light of the political climate that we live in, I think there has to be some healing done. As far as them versus us type of mentality, that has to be smoothed over a little bit, and all sides have to be heard, and all sides have to be respected. You know, when people ask questions on Facebook or trying to glean information, I myself have been trying to find past budgets for the fire department. It is impossible to find anything online. So I guess just to be real honest and transparent, you know, why those mandated things weren't being taken care of over the last decade. Why is it now that these things are coming to light? That's my first question.
I think that they have been purchasing, and I know some of the fire department guys are here. So I'm not sure if they can answer it, or possibly we can, because I don't have all that information in
Right.
front of me. But I believe that over the past few budgets, you know, since at least we've been on the board, that they have been, I'm going to say, rotating and purchasing equipment
Right.
and vehicles and stuff like that. So it has been an ongoing, you know, process. It's just, I believe that some of the 2 trucks that they're getting now, they've completely exhausted. I mean, they're going to fail if they don't purchase these trucks. And with the 1.4, if we put the 1.4 in it, that means you can spend up to that. It doesn't mean that you have to spend 1.4 million.
I understand
But if we
that.
only just.
Budget.
Budget.
Well, what's the operating, do we know what's the operating cost of the fire department? Or
Yeah,
just, let's just talk about Mayapack.
Last year, I believe it was just over $975,000 total.
Yeah, I think.
Or I'm sorry,
Did they
just
go
under
over that a few
975
weeks
total
Right,
based on what
okay.
they had
Yeah.
for favorable
When we had them
variance
in.
on their actual expenses that were reported to us.
You know, I know that there'll hopefully be a lot of restitution coming their way. I know that there is insurance money. My other question is, you know, the audits that were done by New York State, the mandated, is there any liability there? Did they have any kind of like professional liability insurance that would cover the fact that those audits were for naught?
That.
Have we looked into that at all?
Yeah.
I don't- the-
Not sure what the question is. Is there any professional liability insurance
Malpractice against the accountant, possibly?
that would cover whom? That would cover
The
the
fire
town?
It will cover the
No, the
fire
fire
department.
Department.
I mean, they were trusting these audits, correct, to show the proper
They'd have to
thing,
answer
and they
that,
did
whether or
not.
not the professionals they retained for the services had errors on omissions insurance. It's entirely possible, but that would require an action by the department against the professional or the professionals who prepared the audits.
I would highly recommend that you guys look into that. I mean, these were auditors that you were trusting, that were saying everything is fine, and obviously it wasn't. and that went on for a long time. And if I'm not mistaken, is that
Yeah.
New York State mandate, that,
Ma'am?
those audits?
Ma'am?
Oh,
In
I'm
a public,
sorry.
in a public hearing,
Sorry.
you have to address the board, I'm sorry.
Okay, you said they might know, okay.
There
Oh,
shouldn't
no,
be a-
well, and to help them, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just trying to investigate
and
different
it-
things as well, the things that I'm seeing and things that I'm hearing. You know, I'm just trying to get to the truth of,
Yeah, it's a great suggestion.
not everything is true on Facebook.
Yeah, no.
So we just want to make sure that we know what I want to know the truth. And I think everybody wants to know the truth. I'm sure that a lot of taxpayers want to know, you know, that this is being done, exhausting every possible avenue without shortchanging our fire protection and, you know, having everybody's best interest at heart. Okay? That's it. Thank you.
And with respect to the equipment, they do have a vehicle replacement policy. We've seen that where there's an average life expectancy of a fire truck, which is approximately 20 years. Could be a little bit longer, could be less, but they have to replace these trucks after a period of time. And I think these two trucks that they're replacing, that they're purchasing the two new ones for, they're at least 20 years old. I think one is 21 years old.
I think 25 and 22 or 23.
So it's a little older, so they
Right.
have to replace them. I think the question is, there's no question that they have to replace them. They need new equipment from time to time. There's bailout kits that they're going to be purchasing to protect the firemen in the event that they have to bail out of a structure to escape the fire. Breathing apparatus, Scott bottles, the replacement bottles for the equipment, absolutely a must. Turnout gear has to be
Of
replaced.
course,
from time to
no one's debating any of this,
This
because
is
we have, like
all-
I've said, we have approved budget after budget after budget for whatever they've requested, so that they had all this type of gear and apparatus that you're mentioning. This was never a question before. Okay, it is now because there have been, as we know, problems, and I think the public has every right to question this and to have answers that are forthcoming. My other question is that I had seen something from Mayapack News on Facebook that said not all the money that the fire department receives is from taxpayers, that only part of their money comes from taxpayers. I'm wondering where the other part of that money would come from.
There's two different places. One is from fundraising, which they're able to do at any time, and then the other one is in regards to state insurance. It's referred to as 2% money. And
Right.
that 2% money needs to come back, and it needs to be used for the benefit of the general membership. It can't be for individuals, but it has to be for general members.
Right, so let's talk about fundraising. Can any of that be used for fire apparatus equipment? Any of that? Can that be used?
We
don't.
can't control that. Under the contract with a contractor, we can't control what
Well,
they do
can
with
the
their
fi-
funds.
can they? I mean,
That's up to them, but.
We
yeah,
don't even
the-
know what they have
The
from
answer is yes. The answer is yes, if they so decide to do
if they
that.
so desire. Okay, so they can use fundraising money to purchase the trucks.
I don't know how much,
I mean, they're able to
don't know what-
legally,
They can if they make that decision. I don't know if they have enough money. When I say they
Right.
can, I'm not saying I don't know enough of that side of their finances.
No, I understand
'cause
that.
that's completely separate
I mean,
to
Mr.
say,
Schmidt, you're a
but-
member of the fire department, correct? Life member? So, I mean, would they be able to use fundraising money? Yes?
They probably don't have the funds that you might believe that they do have in their accounts. It's not a lot. I mean, they do fundraising, they have the carnival.
No, I understand
they
that.
have
I'm not asking how much, and I don't, you know, I don't
Could
even
they?
need to
Yeah,
know that, but are
theoretically-
they able
Theoretically,
to?
yes, they could. They
Okay.
could.
Okay,
They could.
all right. So
But the town funds in the past have been for fire protection. Anything that's associated with fire protection and EMS, the town money is designated for that. And that would include the purchase of new equipment, the town money.
Right.
But your question is, could they use fundraising money? They could. There's nothing that says that they can't. The law doesn't,
that answers my question.
right,
That's- yeah.
indicate that it's not prohibited. They can, but it's just, it hasn't been that way. But I just don't know if there's enough funds raised in order that it would make a difference in what they're purchasing.
Well, we're talking 200,000. Do they raise 200,000 in fundraising a year? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Let's put a number to it.
I don't believe they do, but I don't have that data
Okay.
available.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
Just curious. I think people need to know. I think that's it. I do want to follow up, and I think that the town should encourage the fire department to look up that liability insurance to the auditors. I think that would be an avenue. I mean, they were under the guise that they were being audited, and they were not. So, all right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Warren Rabb, Mayapack. I just got a quick question. Did they ever give you a breakout of what the money that you're giving them in the budget, what they're spending it on, or at the
They
end of
did.
the year? They
They
do?
did.
Yes.
They did submit that.
Oh, they
We do
do?
have that.
They'll tell you what they'll spend on, whether it's
Yeah,
equipment
well,
or
that's what was given to Mary Ann. Line item.
Yeah,
line items, they do give,
yes.
and the public could see that, or no?
They can.
Okay.
Yes,
That
they
was
can.
just my question.
It's-
I don't have any issues with the funds that they're here giving, but I just was questioning how they spend the money, you know.
If you'd like to get a copy of that, we can get that to you,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
And
All right.
just so you know, for the record also, we contract a fire department lawyer who, the Mahopac Fire Department has to send in all of their checks, and he does an audit, say every, 3 months, every quarter, and he is comparing what is actually being spent to the budget. And that is also open to the public because he sends in reports to us, and it would be foilable and available.
No,
No,
this is,
since the incident, we've put this in place.
No.
no, it wasn't done prior, and it's
But
actually
you,
helped to,
it's
helped to identify some areas that could have some changes and alterations made, and the fire department's been very receptive to the recommendations that they've been putting forward. So it's been good, open lines of communication between all parties to try to make sure that the future of the fire department and the first responders is appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to come up and comment on this public hearing item? Come on up. Okay, there being none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
So moved by Councilwoman McDonough, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that public hearing is now closed. Okay, we have two resolutions that we need to act on tonight, as long as this is considered a open public meeting, open voting meeting. There's two agenda items that town council has asked us to act on this evening. It's amended resolution authorizing the return of a permit fee, and resolved that the town board of the town of Carmel, upon the recommendation of town Carmel Director of Codes Enforcement Mike Carnazza, hereby authorizes a refund the sum of $250 for the building permit and certificate of occupancy fees to Perfect Comfort HVAC, Carmel, New York. It was actually in Kent, New York. That's why it's being returned. So, Councilman Schneider, would you read resolution number 1?
The one that you just read?
Exactly.
As read.
As read. Okay,
Seconded.
as read. No problem.
I second it.
You second it. Okay. Roll call vote.
Councilman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Lupinacci.
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough.
Yes.
Why do you just
Supervisor
kick me-
Schmidt.
kick me under the dais and say, what are you reading it for? It's my resolution.
This was the first
Yes.
time I remember you
Motion
reading it, I'm
carries.
sorry.
Okay, you can read resolution number 2 then. I'm not going to read it.
Very well, this is a resolution adopting the standard workday and reporting resolution for Town of Carmel employees and elected officials. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Carmel hereby establishes the following as standard workdays for Environmental Conservation Board members, Deputy Tax Receiver, and Zoning Board members. Town Clerk and Dog Control Officer will report the employees to the New York State and local employees retirement system based on the timekeeping system records or their records of activities maintained and submitted by these employees to the Town Clerk as submitted on the attached standard workday and reporting resolution for employees and standard workday and reporting resolution for elected and appointed officials, Forms RS 2418, RS 2417-A, and RS 2417-B for the New York State and local retirement system. I offer this resolution as read.
Second?
Okay, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. Roll call vote.
Councilman Schneider.
Yes.
Councilman Lupinacci.
Yes.
Councilwoman McDonough.
Yes.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, that completes the agenda items for the special voting meeting. And I need a resolution, I'm sorry. I need a motion to close.
So moved.
The special voting meeting. So moved. Seconded by Councilman Schneider. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now I need a motion to open the town board work session.
So moved.
Second?
So moved by Councilman Schneider, seconded by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a special guest with us, here with us this evening. The Putnam County District Attorney, Robert Tendy, is here with us to a discussion regarding the opioid epidemic in Putnam County, and we appreciate you taking the time, DA Tendy, to be with us tonight and to talk a little bit about this horrible epidemic, this crisis that is sweeping the nation. It's impacted Putnam County greatly. I know the district attorney and law enforcement is working hard, along with the Drug Crisis in Our Backyard and other organizations, to try to, deal with this epidemic. And, we appreciate all your efforts and what's being done about this. A lot more needs to be done, and it's really going to take a community to combat this. And, we're all working very diligently, we're working very hard and trying to get a handle on this and control it. So there's some things that you want to present tonight on behalf of the District Attorney's Office to the public. So welcome, DA Tendi. Thanks for being here, and come right up to the podium.
First, I want to thank you for allowing me to come here and talk about this tonight. It's very, very important. But before I get to that, as you know, I was a town supervisor for 8 years in Putnam Valley, and I haven't heard the term type 2 seeker in 2 years, and I don't miss it.
Did you ever read any resolutions for your town board members and then say?
Oh, Kenny, you're an amateur compared to the mistakes I used to make. I'm here not really to discuss the opioid crisis. I think everybody knows there's an opioid crisis. I'm here to briefly tell everyone that my office, and there's a member of the Fourth Estate here, which is very good, because it's your responsibility to also get the word out. There is help and there's hope for people, and I don't think that's stressed enough. My office does not just arrest people and put them in jail. If there are people who have serious drug or alcohol problems, we do whatever we can to keep them out of jail. We do whatever we can to get them the help they need. Watching a drug addict or an alcoholic go to jail is oftentimes or sometimes necessary, but it always represents to me a failure on the defendant's part, a failure on perhaps the family's part, a failure on somebody's services part. It always represents a sad story, and sad stories are failures as far as I'm concerned. So some of the things I want to bring up tonight is that in the district attorney's office, you can call my office anytime. Anybody can. If you have a friend, if you have a family member, if you have an acquaintance, a person you work with, if you think they have a drug problem, or if you have a drug or alcohol problem, you can call my office. We can point you in the right direction. If it's something that we can't handle, there are so many groups, and I'm going to read just some of them to you. We'll make this list available on our website soon. I got Steve Salomon here from Drug Crisis in Our Backyard. We've got Arms Acres. We have Prevention Council of Putnam, Cove Care Center, St. Christopher's Inn, Walter Hoving Home. We have a Putnam County Crisis Line, which is 845-225-1222, 845-225-1222. It's available 24/7. There are a lot of organizations in this county that care about the people in this county who have drug and alcohol problems. And if you're one of those people who does, or you think you do, or you think you know somebody who does, call us. Call us. My number is 845-808-1050. 845-808-1050. It's a very near and dear topic to me. Many of us know people who have passed away as a result of drug overdoses and alcohol abuse. My best friend, when I was in law school, my best friend died from drugs and alcohol. He was just such a talented young man, and it hurts. But I was at an Eagle Scout ceremony 2 weeks ago. I love going to Eagle Scout ceremonies. They represent successes. And when I got out, I received a phone call that somebody I grew up with, a kid, I helped him paint his bedroom. He had died from drugs and alcohol. He was a quiet drinker, a quiet abuser. He was a professional and had college degrees. He was an architect. And he was dead at the age of 49. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. There's a movie that Steve and his wife invited me to called Reverse the Stigma. This guy was drinking privately and alone for years. Alone. And being a functioning alcoholic with tremendous physical problems. So it's not a shame to tell somebody you have a problem. It's not. If you have a problem, Look, we tell people when we have cancer, we tell people if we have the flu, we tell people if we have a cold, we tell people if we have any my back's out. Your back's not going to kill you. But many people are afraid to tell us, I've got a problem that's going to kill me. I've got a real drug abuse problem. I've got an alcohol problem. I can't stop myself. I had a client who used to tell me, my car drives me to the liquor store. My car drives me there. I can't stop it from driving me there. So if you have any questions, any problems, I don't care how old you are, I don't care if you're a 12-year-old kid, I don't care if you're a 75-year-old man, call my office, 845-808-1050. I promise you, it will be kept confidential. We'll get you to the facilities, or we'll get you the help that you need, and nobody's going to judge you for it. It would be like judging somebody for saying I have a kidney ailment. Please, if you need help, call us. You can go to the sheriff's office. In fact, you can go to Kenny Schmidt. All the elected officials in this county are in. We're in, and we really want to stop this problem. And I know it's, you know, I'm not trying to be naive about it. It's always going to be here. But there are people that we all know who can be helped. So that's really all I have to say. It's not about the opioid crisis. We know it's there. It's not about putting people in jail, which sometimes has to be done. It's about getting the word out, Mr. Dumas. Get the word out. There's help out there for you. There's hope out there for you. We'll care about you. All right? So please spread the word. Talk about it. Steve's talking about it all the time. His wife talks, his group talks about it all the time. Got to get the word out. If you're a kid, let us know if there's a problem. All right? So that's really all I wanted to say. I just think it needs to be said over and over and over again.
Yeah.
All right?
Agreed. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure,
Attorney
my pleasure.
Tenney. We really appreciate it.
Okay. If you want to ask any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
Bob, can you just get us that list, because possibly we can put that on our website too? Oh, perfect. I love it. Yeah.
You can put that
Thank
on your
you.
website. All the links will be there. You can contact any of those organizations. You can make suggestions to your relatives or friends or loved ones. You might want to call this place. You can call for them and get information.
Out on the table.
Okay, so all the information is there. There's a lot of agencies here in this county that can help people, so please don't hesitate. All right, because I'm tired of putting people in jail for something that can be solved through programs or medicine or other alternative cares. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question. You're talking about things that are going on in the thick of it.
Yeah.
What is being done in the town preventively?
You talking about law enforcement?
Law enforcement going into schools, dealing with young children, talking to parents.
My office, we go into schools to talk about a whole host of issues. We talk about drug abuse, we talk about sex abuse, we talk about anything that's affecting children. I went to the Putnam Valley Elementary School a couple of weeks ago and had a meeting with the staff and the superintendent. Our services and our discussions and our programs, anytime you want us to talk to anybody, I'll go to a PTA meeting, I'll go to a bridge club. I don't care what it is. We'll go anywhere. I have some very, very experienced staff members who have spent their whole lives, their whole professional lives, dealing with drug abuse, drug arrests, drug programs, treatment courts. I have some really great staff members. So anytime anybody here wants us to go and talk to anyone, and it doesn't have to be a group of, I don't want to preach to the choir. I want to preach to the people who aren't in the choir. So if you know a bunch of people who aren't in the choir, let me know. We'll go talk to them. That's why we're going to, a lot of these places have inpatient facilities. We're going to talk to these people. We're going to let them know we go to the jails and talk to people. So it's not a question of, who are you going to talk? We'll talk to everybody. So if you, ma'am, if you want to call my office and you want me to go to any type of function, gathering, we're going.
I remember years ago a program, I'm sure you remember it, Scared Straight.
Yes.
And I mean, is there something like that where you talk directly to like middle school and high school?
In a sense, there is. Scared Straight was more of a court situation. We still do that. But as far as the schools go, all we can do is send letters to all the districts, all the superintendents, all the principals, and let them know that we will gladly come and talk. One thing we do every year is around prom time, we go and talk to the kids. because it's a time of particular danger, right after graduation, too. It's a time of danger. I always tell the kids, if you got on a bus and your bus driver was drunk in the morning, what would you do? You'd tell everybody right away. But you'll get in a car with some kids who are drunk and it doesn't mean anything to you. So, yeah, we do talk, we do. We go to the schools, I'll go anywhere. I'm dead serious. No, bad pun intended. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not an expert, I don't know what I'm hearing lately, and about big pharmacy companies that are prescribing oxycodone, fentanyl, and these types of painkillers and whatever else, that sometimes people have in their medicine cabinets and kids get
Yes.
or even adults. So are we educating parents and adults about the dangers of these types of drugs, which are, we know, with therapy being so much less expensive, once they start something like this, they go to the next step because it's more readily available. Are we educating people about what prescriptions they should be taking, and also maybe not prescribing them to our young athletes that have heard that they're getting their start on these types of prescribed legal medications?
Well, it's a double, there's 2 or 3 answers that, in a sad sense, we're educating them the wrong way. We're telling them that it's okay. We take painkillers for everything. We're brought up that way. When I was a kid, we didn't get painkillers. We just didn't get it. Maybe get a half an aspirin. I know. The pharmacy companies, and Steve Salomon is more experienced in this field than I am, but since the early 90s, I have friends who at the age of 6 were putting their kids on medicine. At 6 years old, normal kids with signs on the wall. Don't forget to take your meds before they go to kindergarten and first grade. That's crazy. And it was pushed to the public. Your child can't concentrate. He needs a pill. Your child's a problem in school. She needs a pill. Your child doesn't do her homework. She's disruptive at home. They need a pill. It was almost like crazy Jetsons. You take a pill for everything. And yeah, that type of problem has certainly helped to create this epidemic. There is no question about it. It's absolutely, there's no question about it. And you're absolutely correct. That's right. That's why kids nowadays, some kids don't have a fear, and they should, but they have pill parties. Because to them, it's like, I'm doing this in 2nd grade. What are you talking about? So you talked about prescriptions in the home. I found in my medicine cabinet last year 2 Percocet pills that have been in my medicine cabinet since 2006. 2006, behind my shaving lotion. And it's a horrible drug, but I was in tremendous pain at the time. I took them for a week. I will never take them again. But I'm a district attorney and a lawyer, and they were in my medicine cabinet. So everybody, I'm glad you brought that up. Check your medicine cabinets. You go to a doctor for a tooth problem, check your medicine cabinets. You know what you're doing? You know what you're doing? You're doing the exact right thing. You're bringing up questions, you're raising issues, and you're talking about it. That's why I'm here. I want you to do that.
And just so people are aware, we do have medicine take-back days.
Thank you.
They've been here, and I believe down at the police station, Chief, if I'm not mistaken, there's something.
Is there an
where
amnesty
if-
box there?
An amnesty box, yeah. Any day, any hour, you can drop off your prescriptions at the Carmel Police Station as well. But we do have medicine take-back days during the year also.
Yes, sir.
Kids generally know when their friends are in trouble or having problems.
Yes, they do.
See the difference in personality and behavior. They often know that they're taking either alcohol or drugs.
Would you say why?
It's important to school personnel and anyone else who works with children to let them know that it is important to alert the adults in the area, whether it be a school counselor or teacher or someone who is responsible, to get involved in that. And sometimes the kids will say, well, they pull answer that I've given them, because I worked in school for many years, was rather you train be in the way that you for violating confidentiality or to be responsible or feel responsible for them dying.
It's tough to get kids at the age, at that age, it's tough to get them to understand that they're doing a good thing. They really, you know, peer pressure is enormous under any circumstance, but when you're a teenager, I remember, it's horrific.
And many times, the kids would come into my office, which I told you, they come in and let me know that their friend was talking about committing suicide. And we would immediately get to that kid and not let that lead.
Well, getting to the person is very important. And sometimes you get to the person and it still doesn't work, but you gotta try. Steve, I don't know if you want to say anything. Steve Salamone is here from Drug Crisis in our backyard. He and his wife and their staff have just do tremendous work in the county and out of the county, and they're more knowledgeable on this than I am. Because I approach it from a law enforcement initiative with some side roads, but he approaches it from treatment. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Steve.
If you don't mind, I will.
Yeah, sure. go ahead.
So, Drug Crisis, we offer services to try to help the community. We have family navigation services, and if you want more information, you go to our website. But we're trying to help families navigate through this myriad of, because there are a lot of service providers, but when you're in crisis, you know, you don't really know how to navigate through that. So we counsel people in that regard, and we also have support groups around in Dutchess County, in Putnam County, in northern Westchester. So I encourage you to visit our website. To your point, there is new legislation. There is new legislation about prescribing, about only prescribing 7 days maximum. There's new guidelines for physicians for education on opioids, because they haven't been well educated and they've been overprescribing. The pharmaceutical companies were deceptive. They led people to believe, especially the doctors, that these were safe drugs, and they're not. And they're profited. The family that is behind Purdue Pharma is worth $13 billion. And they made most of their money on OxyContin. So, you know, the problem is, as the DA had mentioned, it's a community issue. So I think I encourage that we continue to talk. Law enforcement, the town board, government, schools, and the community. You know, you can't get tired of this. There's a lot of denial out there. Most people, everyone here knows there's a problem, but most people don't realize that it could happen in their own household. And I think I encourage people to continue to talk to their kids, to talk to each other, and you're making a great point. If somebody is in trouble, not even just kids, if you know that you feel someone is really off, talk to them and find out, because a lot of people are taking narcotics right now, and they're doing it in silence, and I think we need to get the dialogue going. So that's
Thank you. Can you actually tell us the website? You had referenced the website a couple times.
drugcrisisinourbackyard.org. We're a nonprofit, and we offer our services are all just to the community free of charge.
And Steve, I want to thank you and Susan and Drug Crisis in the Backyard. You guys do an amazing job. You really do in the community. I know you're working extremely hard, not only here, as Bob said, outside of the community as well. So your efforts they're paying off, and they're going to continue to pay off, because, you know, hopefully, you know, one day this whole drug crisis with respect to the opioids and the heroin is going to be eradicated. It's going to be over. But it seems that it's so big, it's so huge, you know, but it's because of your efforts, the DA's efforts, law enforcement's efforts, and our own efforts, is that one day we're all going to get a handle on this, and hopefully it's going to be under control and it's going to stop. Because
we have to do it as a joint effort.
We do.
Silos, we've got to we have to joint efforts. The police are, when they're on the streets, are sometimes the point of first contact. They can help people. That's when they can help people. They don't need to arrest them, as you so.
Many of them do help people. If they can find a place to bring them to, they do.
That's the crisis point. So let's get these people help.
education, awareness, it's big. It's the key to it, you know, and those doctors out there, those doctors that are overprescribing And knowing that they need to be held accountable also. It's because they're out there, there's no question about it. They're selling scripts, they're writing scripts, they're part of creating some of the issues that we're dealing with today as far as the addicts and the disease that's out there. It's because of these doctors. And I know there's been an effort to try to deal with that. It's not easy, prosecuting physicians, but the ones that are doing it should be caught and they should be prosecuted. There's no question about it. They're no different than any other criminal or any other drug dealer on the street. They're drug dealers, but they're licensed to do it, and they're getting away with it. And, that's something that really needs to be taken seriously because there's quite a few of them out there. So thank you so much, Steve, for your efforts. And District Attorney Tendi, thank you for all the hard work that your office does, and we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, folks. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much.
808-1050. Good night.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Okay. Steve, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
say hello to Susan. Take care. Okay, first item on the town board work session, Mary Ann Maxwell, the town controller. Mary Ann, thanks for being here. This is consider request to amend and adopt the town of Carmel user fee schedule.
Good evening. Each year I send a request to the department heads for proposed user fees that relate to their department. So I'm just going to go through the user fees and the proposed changes that were submitted to me. In the town clerk's office, I did not get any requested changes to the town clerk, to the user fees in the town clerk's office. That's on page 1. On page 2, in the police department, I did not get any changes to those proposed user fees. The highway department, I did not get any proposed changes, although I believe they are looking at possibly revising the driveway permit fee. So that may, and the road opening permit fee. So that may be a proposed change down the road. In the Parks and Rec department, I did not get any proposed changes in that and on those fees. On page 3. On page 4, the Building and Codes Department, no changes were recommended. On page 5, the ECB Board, there were some recommended changes. The ECB wetland sign is recommended from going to $10 to $15. Permit renewal extension fee from $50 to $75. Letter of maintenance, $50 to $75. Letter of permission, $100 to $150. Private consultation conference with wetland inspector is a new fee of $175. Tree cutting up to 25 acres is a recommended increase from $300 to $350. Tree cutting over 25 acres, a recommended increase from $300 to $400. And wetland determination for health department, a fee increase from $150 to $200. So those changes are on page 5. On page 6, there were no changes recommended. On page 7, a recommendation was made to increase, or for a new fee of floodplain permit fee of $250. And also on page 7, the town engineer did recommend that the out-of-district application fee for residential go from $1,000 to $1,500, and the out-of-district application for commercial go from $1,000 to $2,500. Those are both for sewer and water out-of-district applications. So those are the only recommendations that I received from the various departments. So if anybody has any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mary Ann. This is done as the normal course of business annually. Every year during budget time, we set the user fee schedule. These are the fees that the public pays for specific services that is rendered by the town of Carmel. And we set the user fee schedule for 2018. We set it in December of 2017, so that would take effect January 1 of 2018.
Correct.
So does the board have any questions, comments with respect to the user fee schedule and the changes, the amendments that were recommended by the various departments within the town. There weren't many, there were a few, and I concur with the ones that were recommended to be changed. So, the board okay with the
The
submitted?
only, Councilwoman McDonough and I were looking at it, and we could talk offline, but there's 3 notification sign fees. ECB has a fee, zoning board has a fee, planning board has a fee, and they're all different, yet it's a very similar sign, so we might want to just talk to the department heads to, get it to be the same fee.
Okay.
So, but that's small, but it's just looking at it, there's
Yeah, just
disparity
keep it
between
uniform, right, yeah.
15, 25, and then 35, yet it's the same, they're very similar
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
And
Well,
so-
maybe we can go over it with Rose or Dawn, and
Yep.
have them talk to them.
Okay, thanks, Mary Ann. Jonathan, do you have anything? Susie?
Nope.
Other than what John mentioned?
Nope.
No? Okay, all right. Okay, thanks, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right, number 2, Mike Simone, Town of Carmel Highway Superintendent. This is to consider request to purchase services from Putnam County Bid List for Atlantic Pavement Markings, Inc. Mike,
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's the time of year again, we do it twice a year. We try to do it in the spring and May and before the winter season. Again, for the traveling public, for their safety, we mark all our yellow lines and so that the highways appear clearer in the dark and in the daylight. So, as it said, we are purchasing this off the Putnam County bid. We've been doing this for years, and I need your support or resolution so that I can spend this money. It's within the budget.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, concerns with respect to what the Highway Superintendent is requesting?
No.
Nope, there being none. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have a resolution next week for it. Thanks. Okay, next, number 3, Jim Gilchrist, Director of Recreation and Parks, along with Jeff Cantelmo from Insight Engineering. And Bob Buckley is here also. Bob is the chairman of the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee for the Town of Carmel. Bob, thanks for being here. Hey, Jeff, Jim. And this is to discuss review of plans for the Town of Carmel Recreation Center. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
So if you don't mind, I'll start it off and give a little history here. So we obviously have the master plan for Parks and Recreation, and the issue we're going to bring before you today is the proposal for the recreation center at the Sycamore Park. This has been a very long project. I think back in 2008 to 2010 area, there was a survey that was put out to the residents of the town. And the reason I say that is because when people find out I chair the recreation committee, a lot of people say to me, "Where's our pool? Where's our pool?" So what I tell them is, when the survey went out, and Susie McDonough always asks me about the pool too, she wants a pool. So, but all kidding aside, at that time when the survey went out, the number 1 item on there was the residents required, they requested that we put a recreation center for the residents in the town, for the kids, the seniors, and all the users in this town. With that being said, we went out and we got several grants over the years, and Jeff Contalamo from Insight Engineering is doing all the work, and he'll explain in detail what's going on there. The number's high. The number's $10 million, and Jeff will explain that breakdown. And the Recreation Committee has approved this to move forward to the town board for you guys to decide what the next step is and what you want to do with it. Whether you want to move forward with it as is, whether you want to modify it, or whether you want to have a referendum and let the residents of our town decide. All right, so there's a plan here for a building, some infrastructure work, and there's some other stuff which Jeff will explain from an engineer point of view. We've gone down to the DEP, DEC several times, Jim, myself, and Jeff, and we've had some very detailed meetings. And fortunately, we have Jeff Gonzalo, who's able to navigate through the different agencies and get permits that people said we would never be able to get on this project, to be quite honest with you. And I'm gonna let kind of Jeff take it from here, but I want to let you know the Recreation Committee supports this 100%. It's basically finished. Jeff will tell you what has to be done. And I just want to say one thing, and it has nothing to do with the attorney up there, but I'm going to take a little joke here. Often when I call attorneys and I talk to them for 20 minutes, a half hour, 40 minutes, I get a bill for 20 minutes, 30 minutes before I say, Jesus Christ. Oh, Bob, we every time you talk to us, it's billable. Well, when I call Jeff, I say, Jeff, can you meet me at the park? Can you meet Jim at the park? We need to go over these issues. The guy always shows up. He always comes. He never says, Bob, you're like, you got too many hours here. He has a contract, and when we need him, he shows up, and he goes above and beyond, and I just really want to let this town board know that. It's been a great pleasure working with Jeff, and I think he's been very professional. Jim, you want to say something before we turn over to
Sure.
Jeff?
Just so we are all aware, this was completely funded through a New York State grant. This project, Jeff, when did we start this? How many years ago about? 2014. If I tell you the amount of hours that we spent, it was tremendous. Tremendous amount of hours, meeting with the public, meeting with the board, the Recreation Committee, and then on-site with Inside Engineering, we dug Sycamore Park up. If I tell you how many times I had to call Mike Simone, can you send over a backhoe, excavator, whatever we needed, his operators were able to find 8, 9 feet deep in that park, all over the park. They did an awesome job, and that's how we got this project completed. With the knowledge of Inside Engineering, knowing when to do the testing, working with the DEP, and also the Health Department. Wait until you see what the approvals that we have for this park. This is a master plan for Sycamore Park, improving all the roads, parking, maintenance building, community center. So I just want to briefly touch on that, and our goal has always been to go after federal and state grants. We have a shovel-ready project now. The permits are here. Now our challenge is going to try to fund this project, or fund it in pieces going forward. We've been very successful in the other parks, funding major improvements through state grants. We need to look beyond that. We need to have our grant writer look at possibly some federal grants, along with some state grants, and really try to come up with a large grant for this project. This community needs it, and it's never the right time to fund the community center, but we've gone through this. The previous recreation director has talked about it for years and years and years. We keep kicking it down the road. Our Sycamore Park buildings are falling apart. They need to be taken down. We've been doing some work over the years, trying to keep what we have to just keep it going. But we need a community center in this community to deal with a lot of different issues, from the seniors right down to the kids. So I'll pass it down to Jeff, and hopefully you guys have a lot of questions for him after he goes through this.
You maybe hold just
You need easel? Easel? Oh, you know what? Is there one in the planning board?
There might be one up there. Yeah, let me go see.
Planning board, maybe?
Jimmy could have played Van White, and
Yeah, Jimmy, if you...
right in front of,
You guys want to look at it, or you have it in front of you?
yeah, we have,
let the public...
I mean, if we could block Kenny, then just put it right in the front.
Yeah, sure. Hang this on the wall, we're done. Put his name to the front, just so it doesn't fall over. Endorsed by Kenny.
In the spirit of time, I'll start the discussion on the project. Thank you for the kind words, by the way. We did all work very closely together, and the support that Jim and Bob gave us, particularly with the DEP, who can be quite difficult to deal with on a challenging site like this. Everybody worked together, and over the last several years, I think we've certainly achieved our goal, and we've got the town to a place now where they have a bunch of opportunity to fulfill their master plan, and that's where we started. So just real big picture, once the master plan was adopted and the town obtained some grant funding, we were charged with moving forward with the community center at Sycamore Park. That project was scoped out by the Recreation Committee and their consultant on the master plan, and it was identified to include 6 components. And the 6 components were an 18,000 square foot community recreation center,
a 15,000 square foot new maintenance building, a parking facility appropriately sized to accommodate the new building and buildings, improvements to the access drives and exits and circulation through the park, and stormwater and sewer and water utilities that would support the new facility. The sixth component was some rerouting of the maintenance access drive to get it away from the more public spaces. And again, the blueprint for this in concept was established in the master plan. And our charge was twofold. One, develop a schematic plan for the buildings and the site consistent with that master plan. And two, get all of the permits and do all of the design necessary for the site-related work associated with the project. We last appeared before this board maybe 18 months ago and reported on our schematic design drawings, and we were into the preliminary drawings slightly at that time. We presented the building to you. The architecture on the building was done by the predecessor to Ward Associates, who had done all of your master planning and a bunch of your parks work over the last decade or so. That schematic design was looked at in 3 different alternatives, priced out from the schematic standpoint, and then put aside while we pursued the site design and the site permitting. The site design and site permitting involved not only all of the design work, but all of the agencies and permits, and I'll just go through this very quickly. We obtained Putnam County Department of Health approval for a fairly significant septic system, and also reestablished the design flow for the existing system with its ability to be expanded. Approval for a new wells and water supply for the new facility, also from Putnam County Department of Health. Coordination with Putnam County Department of Highways and Facilities on the road intersection improvements for the exit and entrances into the park. We also dealt with New York City DEP with a stormwater pollution prevention plan with all of the stormwater improvements necessary for this project. And that was really our toughest approval, because there are a lot of constraints on the site, which really gave us a workout, I'll say. And again, Jim and Bob were very helpful with them. The New York City DEP also had approved a septic system, and then we dealt with the New York State DEC relative to some freshwater wetland permitting and a discharge permit for the new septic and expanded septic. So all of those permits are in place. Our scope of work requires us to put together a bid-ready package for the site work component of this project. We are 95+% completed with that. We anticipate over the next several weeks to wrap that up. All the permits are in place. We'll be delivering that package to Jim's office and to the town engineer. So as Jim mentioned, so if you wanted to start pecking away at some of these things, you have the site approvals to do that. So we were happy to have worked on the project. It definitely, as Bob said, it was a challenge at times, and we're happy to report that we got to the end, and I'd like to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. John, Ward, Susie, Jonathan, do you have any questions at this time for the panel? Bob, Jim, or Jeff? Yeah, this has been in the works for quite a while, for many years, and I'm glad to see that at least this phase, this aspect of it is coming to fruition. You know, we got to this point tonight, so, you know, really now it comes down to financing. And we talked about that earlier, Jim, with grants and from our state representatives, our federal representatives. You know, our grant writer should certainly, if he hasn't done it already, begun the process of filling out applications and reaching out to the representatives to find out what monies may be available for this. Because this is a community project, and this is something certainly that this community needs. And, you know, you had mentioned it earlier. It's one thing we're lacking. We have a 35,000 resident community, 3 hamlets, the hamlet of Carmel, Mahopac, Mahopac Falls. The one thing we don't have, we have a lot of beautiful parks, but we don't have a community center. That's one thing we desperately need, and you know, this is something that I know the town board supports, and we want to move forward with it. So we've gotten to this this aspect of it, this phase of it, if you will, and now we have to begin to work on how we're going to finance it, you know, because that's what it's going to come down to, is financing. And it is going to be an $8 or $10 million project. It is. But it's something that the entire community is going to benefit from. We currently lease space for our senior citizens from the Mahopac Fire Department. So we pay to utilize their hall. I believe it's $750 a month, Jim, is what we're paying for that? On the average. All right, so we don't have a place that our seniors can call their recreation center, or their hall where they can, you know, get together and do what senior citizens do. So this would provide for that. And it's just not the seniors, it's our youngsters, our middle-aged folks, us. A lot of people are going to get a tremendous amount of use out of it. So we support this. We thank you all for the work, your due diligence, the work that you've put into this project this far. And it sounds like you're handing it over to the town board at this point for the town board to begin the process of financing it. So,
Yeah, we want to be real clear. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're handing it over to you. You have it. We're pretty much done. It's in your hands now.
Hot
But
potato.
Bob, can you just quickly mention, because if I'm not mistaken, you're moving the tennis courts or redoing the tennis courts and the basketball courts and possibly lights on them?
Well, being that you mentioned that, I have no problem. Matter of fact, I'll give you a quick rundown of a few grants we have outstanding. I've been working pretty much directly with Senator Murphy's office. Fortunately, I have a relationship with him. I'll tell you 4 grants we have outstanding, and one has to do, you spoke to, did you speak to the dormitory authority last week about the tennis court?
Speak to them every week, yes.
All right, so there's different stages. The 250, we have 4 grants outstanding, so I'll bring you up to speed on all of them so you know what's going on. We have $60,000 grant to Senator Murphy's office, which has been done. Jim speaks to a dormitory authority, I speak to the senator's office, spoke to Mandy. It's a done deal. It's up in the governor's office as soon as he signed it. In fact, we were told to move forward with the paving of the Kamada Park. But as you know, even though they're telling us we can spend the money, they'll reimburse us, we prefer to have the check in hand. So that's pretty much a done deal. We got a $100,000 remediation project, a retrofit, which maybe Jeff can explain that real quickly because it is technical. But we're leasing the airport property from the county, but the retrofit that has to be done in the back is actually on the county's property. So the $100,000 grant is going to the county, and that, because they're going to handle that for us. We spoke to them. I spoke to you guys about it. Going to work cooperatively with the county, and they're going to get that done. Jeff, if you don't mind, just explain what that is real quick.
Sure. As you recall, the airport park was designed quite a few years ago for 4 soccer fields, I think it was, to be built in phases, all within a lease parcel that's controlled by the town of Carmel on the county's property. Again, there was a significant stormwater system associated with that and DEP approvals, and the discharge from the runoff from those fields and their stormwater system discharges down a hill on the county's property, ultimately down to a DEC wetland next to the lake at the base of the hill there at the airport. That eroded channel actually was eligible for some retrofit funding, and as Bob said, he was successful in securing some money to stabilize that channel, which is actually the first phase of work. No other work can happen until that happens. So the importance of that, more so even than the money, is the timing to get that done so that smaller or incremental projects could then happen up in the lease parcel for the town. So it's very important.
So I'd like to address Mr. Lupinacci because he actually had asked me about, when can we get moving with the airport property. And as Jeff just said, we can't get moving until we get that issue in the back resolved. So that's the first step. Once we get going with that, as we talked about, there's a lot of other things that got to be done. The $250,000 grant, some of the other money that we can put together. So we're still waiting on that. And unfortunately, these grants that go through, the town writes the process, it goes up to the dormitory authority, goes to the senator's office, gets sent back to the town, more paperwork, it gets going back up, it gotta go to budget. It's just a very elongated process. Something that you would think would take a couple months takes sometimes a year, 2 years to get a grant. So it's a little disheartening, but I don't want to call it free money, but it's money that we're getting back because it's our tax dollars, but it just doesn't come overnight. So we got that. And Jim, if you can speak about the basketball and tennis court, this is the Councilwoman Dunn asked about, I appreciate it.
Sure, we have two more grants that are in the works for the tennis court and also for the basketball court. So those should be completed by the state, I would think, probably December, January. We're at the final stages. It's going through what they call they have a financial review, which as you're aware of up at the state. So it's gone through the dormitory. It's on to the next level. We actually had to throw out the bids that we had for that project. We're going to rebid that hopefully in the winter, and then start doing the construction in the early spring on putting 2 new basketball courts in Sycamore Park and then revitalizing 2 tennis courts. So you have 2 brand-new tennis courts there and also 2 brand-new basketball courts. After that's done, then we'll remove the courts that are up top near the main building in Sycamore Park, and that will be, working its way forward for the community center. But those grants, we were able to get an extension on the grant that we currently have now for the community center project and the infrastructure work. That was another process that we had to go through. That grant was going back to 2012, so we got another 4-year extension on that. So we have the money now for all these projects. It's just finalize, trying to get it to the final, we get the packet back and say, okay, you can go spend the money. Just to give you an example, the state would send something back. The latest request is they wanted to know when the town of Carmel started going into, when did we go into business? How many years ago? And we've always had NA. So we looked on the town website, we found out when we were established, and we had to put that back up there,
1795.
It's unbelievable. I mean, these are the things that, and that's a 2-week process right there to get that, by the time we get it and send it back up. And Greg's been great pumping out his letters. They seem to want lawyer letters on all of our grants now, so.
Yeah.
I know he's been working with Sue back and forth, getting those taken care of.
Yeah.
So in fairness, because I don't want to forget to say this, we kind of changed the policy with the guidance of the town board and the recreation committee. We're not just dumping money into parks. We're making the users work with us. MSA has been great, Carmel Sports Association, United Soccer, what are the other groups? The Carmel Rams, the Cross, they're putting nets up, they're doing different things. They just put $3,500 into the roller hockey rink to do lacrosse. McDonough Park looks great, MSA is, so things are happening. And, one of the projects that happened within the last 2 years, we almost got $350,000 worth of grants. And I always say it, if people have not gone up to Carmel Park, they should go see it. Got a $250,000 beautiful bathroom that was done to a state grant. Got the dugouts up there. It's looking great. Jeff helped us up there as usual again. And once the paving is done, I like to call, and it's in the hamlet. I like to call the Carmel Park our little central park in the town of Carmel because it's a hidden gem up there. And at some point in the near future, I'll try to get together with the recreation committee, come in. I didn't plan to talk about all these projects, and come in and go over all the projects, what's going on, and bring you up to date. So that's kind of where we're at. So we turned the presentation about the rec center into a little more, but at least now you're up to speed on some things. You have any more questions? Because I don't want to let Jeff go with regard to his project, because we have something else afterwards.
No. Jonathan, you have anything for Jeff regarding this project? No, we're all good, we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Can you have that for his office?
Yeah, if you don't mind, can I, all right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Jeff, if you could just put that over there for me, I'll bring it in the office. Thanks.
They're doing a great job.
Okay, Jimmy, did you have anything else on this particular item?
No, that's it.
Or you want to move on to the, to consider advertising for bids for grass cutting, Town of Carmel Parks?
Sure.
Okay.
Just so I can bring you guys up to speed, we started this grass cutting process back in 2012. We had a contract for a couple of years, and then we went on to a 4-year contract after that.
Thanks, Jeff. Take care.
We originally started with a number of our town parks. We added a park, and we also added Town Hall to this grass cutting contract. I was trying to figure out how I can improve the contract. This contract is perfect the way we have it set up now. We actually went around to a couple different communities in 2012. Town of Cortland was one of them, and I forget the other one might have been one of the schools down either Rye or Mamaroneck that were contracting out grass cutting. So Rob Vara and I worked on putting together this bid package. We made some improvements from the 2012 version that was done in 2014, and we've been carrying on that through November 1st. So we are currently out of contract. So what I was hoping to do is during the winter months, go out to bid. We have one of our parks, we have an expansion at the airport park. Girls lacrosse is going to be playing up there next spring. So I worked with the county, we cleared an area, and we've been maintaining it, cutting the grass down. But that will be added to this contract. I've made adjustments in our budget to be able to handle that for next year. And, I'd have to work with the engineering department. I would hope that Rob can review this to see if there's any other changes that need to be updated in this package. We have to follow the prevailing wage. That would be, that's also required on this project, or this grant, this bid. And do you guys have any questions on this going forward, or?
Yeah, Jim, it's a 1 year with a 2-year option or a 3-year option?
No, actually, it's a 1 year with the one we're going with now, it's a 1 year with a 3-year option.
One with the 3?
Yes.
All right.
So each year I would come to the town board and get approval to extend it a year,
Is that what this one's going to be also?
It'd be the same thing that we had as the last.
3 single-year options? Yeah. Okay. All right.
That works, it works for both the contractor and also for the town. They can escape the contract during that time, and then we can also get rid of the contractor and either go out to bid or look at the other contractors that we had. The contractor, we've been very fortunate to have, they've done an outstanding job for us for the years they've been working here. So I'm hoping that they're going to bid on this for next year.
I tell you, they do a great job here at the town hall.
Yep.
They come after hours, so it doesn't disturb any business during the day. They cut, they weed whack, they blow. They do a fantastic job, and I know they do with the parks also.
So I wanted to make a little comment on that, because back in 2012, when it was proposed, the rec committee and myself was a little reluctant to basically outsource the work. Prior to 2012, a lot of town board members used to come up to me and say they'd go to soccer games, baseball games, and they'd complain a lot about the fields and the condition. And I got to be honest with you, since we've gone to outsourcing this work here, it's actually freed up Jim's worker, because he unfortunately has a limited staff. And obviously, you can imagine what it's going to take to cut all these towns if they're out there with a lawnmower. It's probably taking 50% of their work week. So now they're freed up to do different things. And I think the professional landscapers do a fantastic job. And I haven't had, to be honest with you, but prior to 2012, people would come up to me and always complain about the grass, the weeds, and that. I haven't heard anything. So the contractors are doing a good job. And like you just said, Mr. Supervisor, I think it's a good service, and I definitely think this is the way to continue going.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Jim, so we need a resolution, Greg, next week authorizing to go out to bid? Okay.
You need a resolution.
Okay, yep, that's fine. All right, do you want to add anything to that, Jim, or?
No, that covers it.
Okay, all right, great. Bob, do you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, Police Chief Mike Kazari. This is to consider request to declare old vehicles obsolete and authorize the disposal of the same. Chief?
Good evening.
Thanks for being here. Where's Dearman?
He's off.
Yeah.
So we're requesting a 2008 and a 2010 old Crown Vic. Numerous problems, transmission, rear ends, all that. They're garbage, and just looking for authorization to junk them.
No problem. This is a pretty standard business thing that we do on a regular basis, it seems, with our old and obsolete cars. Mike, these are the only two that you have in the lower lot that you want to dispose of at this time, just these two cars? Everything else is either in use or it's going to serve a purpose for you with parts or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much longer. The unmarked cars, I know the detectives were complaining about them today, about numerous issues, but if it's, under $2,000, I'm willing to fix their problems, but, there's a limit to how much we want to put into junk.
All right, and I understand that the town mechanic, Craig, who works on our fleet, he may want to keep one of these cars, maybe the newer, the 2010 Black Crown Vic for parts. So we have to declare it obsolete to remove it from our insurance and dispose of it, but if he's indicated that this is the better one out of these two, he may want to keep it, because we do have at least one Crown Vic that's still on the line that we use for patrol.
Yeah, but
So-
we're thinking about, reworking that idea about getting rid of the Caprices. We may keep the one that the engine just went on, because it's gonna have a new engine, so, we'll get rid of the last Crown Vic then.
So how many Caprices do we have in service right now that we're using? Is there 3 that are marked and currently being used by patrol? And the engine went on one of them, Mike? Which
Yes.
one was that? You remember?
34.
Okay. All right, are we planning on putting a new engine in that car?
Well, it's under warranty.
Oh, it is, okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, good, and GM's gonna cover that under the
Going to cover
warranty?
that, so we're going to let them put the engine in, and
Okay,
so this is what Sergeant Bagnerol, his thought was, we've got a brand-new engine, let's not junk that, well, let's not
yeah. I mean, when
decommission
that-
it, let's keep that car going then, and get rid of the Crown Vic, the last one.
In your budget for 18, we have a couple vehicles being purchased, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I know, we're going to, we're going to purchase 3 all-wheel drive Dodges and decommission the last 3 Chevys, because I'm afraid that they're going to go. But as long as they're going to fix it for free, then we'll do it. But if it was going to cost us, then no.
So that Caprice with the new engine, that will be then passed to one of the detectives, that become a detective's car? And the
Yes.
ones that are giving us problems, the current detectives' cars will be taken out of service at some point?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And the other 2 Caprices that are still online, when the new Chargers come in, they'll all be turned over to?
We'll auction them, I'd like to auction them off, and
Okay.
while they still have low mileage, we'll get more money for
So
them.
once the detectives' cars have been replaced, the 2 remaining Caprices, you'd like to auction those off to get some revenue from those, from the sale of those?
Right, and
Good.
and my car and Lieutenant Dearman's car, we should get, the rest of our careers out of them. We're not putting heavy mileage on them.
Okay. All
I'm gonna
right.
quote you on that.
I like
one.
that plan.
The rest of your
Rest of your
career. Dearman's younger than you.
Mike's laughing over there, so he doesn't think that that's going to be the case either. Be nice, be nice if that were the case, but we'll see. All right, any further questions for the chief, as long as we have him here? About the cars?
No questions about the car, but I would like to make at least a public accommodation.
Oh, yeah, do you have that?
I don't have it referenced here, but I do know that we had received some communications this week in regards to 2 of our sergeants. I'm not going to name them, but it did come from communications from a federal agency when they had needed assistance on something locally. They could not speak highly enough about the cooperation they received. And I know a lot of times there's fiefdoms where people want to struggle for the power, but the cooperation that our sergeants in particular had displayed there was so highly received by this federal agency that they took it upon themselves to write to, I believe, yourself, and we got that information. And real great accomplishment. I think it's spectacular to see that kind of cooperation, and it speaks very highly of the professionalism of our entire unit. So thank you, Chief, since you're
Thank you.
the head there.
Thank you.
And especially thank those 2 sergeants, please.
Pass it
Yes, I
along.
will. That's why I wanted to forward it to you, because
Yeah.
it was outstanding that,
Absolutely.
that they
You
stepped
hardly
up and-
ever see communication come from any other agency. To be a federal agency to come through like that, it must have been an exceptional job that they did.
yes, I agree.
Great, thanks for mentioning that, Jonathan, appreciate it. Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good night.
All right, you too. Chief. Thanks for being here. All right, next, number 6, Rich Franzetti, PE Town Engineer. This is to consider request to authorize payment for zebra mussel inspection and remediation for Carmel Water Districts number 1, 8, 10, and 13. Rich?
Good evening. On October 17th, 2017, B&J, the operators of Carmel Water Districts 1, 8, 10, and 13, and the wastewater treatment plant, have the intake lines for the wastewater treatment, for the water treatment plant, inspected for zebra mussels. As the board may recall, this is going to be an annual type of work that's done because there are zebra mussels in Lake Mahopac. The problem is with the water treatment plant, we have to worry about obstruction in the intake lines so that we have supply water to the residents. B&J did provide video investigations of the study. The underwater divers inspected the intake and determined that the screen had a minimum amount of zebra mussels adhering to it. The screen was cleaned and replaced. The intake line did contain a large amount of zebra mussels and silt, and aquatic vegetation in the vicinity of the intake screen was problematic. The intake line at that point in time was recommended to be cleaned and jetted. It has been cleaned and jetted. It was completed on Monday. The estimated total cost for the work is about $15,000. We've attached an invoice for $5,967 for the inspection work that was performed by Seaway Diving and B&J Plumbing. When the additional invoices come in for the cleaning and jetting, we will provide that to the town board for review and approval. The cost of this work is included in the Carmel Water District 1, 8, 10, and 13 budgets, and there are sufficient funds for the work that has been performed.
So Rich, are they gonna clean all of them, 1, 8, 10, and 13?
No, it's one intake line into Lake Mahopac.
Oh, it's
It
just
goes
one
to the
of
water
them
treatment plant.
so that's why it has just number 8 there, the section. Okay.
Right, the water treatment plant supplies those 4 water districts. It's been historically called Water District 8, is the Water District 8 plant, but it supplies 4 water districts.
Is this the location right by the VFW?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anything further for the engineer with respect to this, this particular item, zebra mussel remediation inspection?
There's no natural predators that we can, there's nothing else that we can do. As far as I know, it's kind of like
Yeah,
a...
no,
There have
we
been
can't get rid of
epidemic.
them either.
Once they're in there, it's-
The only animal that we've heard that eats it, and it's on a minor basis, are muskrats.
No.
They
Oh my
will eat
God,
them.
and
Unacceptable.
and they
We're not going
also-
to infiltrate muskrats into Lake Mahopac.
No, well, we're not gonna do the whole, mouse, elephant type of thing, so
Exactly.
No,
no.
the
we
muskrats
won't.
also eat a lot of wires on the boats.
Correct, but muskrats do eat, they're the only ones who do eat the zebra mussels.
So this is going to be an annual maintenance routine that we have to start on?
We're gonna do an inspection every year, and we may have to do the jetting and cleaning. It's probably the only way we're gonna be able to do that. You can't get rid of the zebra mussels, they're in the lake, they're gonna be there.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. They actually are making the lake clearer. That's why so part of the aquatic vegetation that we have can be attributed to the clearer water, letting more sunlight penetrate in, and therefore the aquatic vegetation is closer to shore in some of those areas. There's a lot of reasons, that's why we have the carp and the whole thing, but that's what's going on also.
Okay. Well, thank you.
all right, thanks, Rich. Okay, item number 7. Edie McCarthy and Glenn Drosy. Glenn Drosy is our town assessor, and Edie McCarthy is a consultant for the town with respect to the reval and now the cyclical assessments that are going to be ongoing. So Edie, thanks for being here. Glenn, thank you.
Yes, good evening. As you know, the 2017 assessment project has wrapped up. The state has approved the project an A-plus project and certified it as 100% assessments. We have applied and are waiting for reassessment state aid. This is expected to offset a minimal amount of cost. What we're going to do tonight is he's going to walk us through the cyclical reassessment and what we're doing in the future to keep assessments at 100%. Edie?
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We'll be quick. So we are in the 2018 assessment year, and the way it has been determined is that last year we did the 2017, we did a full reassessment. This year we are doing something the state calls a non-reappraisal reassessment. And what that is basically a statistical update. I gave you a handout, so you don't have to remember that word. So we plan on looking at assessments every 5 years to do a full reassessment on the 5th or 6th year, depending on the market. In the interim years, which is the first 2018 year, we will be doing this non-reappraisal reassessment. And quickly to explain what that is, it's just a statistical testing of the market to determine what has happened in our market from last year to this year. And if the market has gone up, for example, then there will be a trend applied to all assessments. We don't know what that trend is yet. We just started. So the way that it works is if it is determined that the market in Carmel has gone up by 2%, all assessments in the town will go up by 2%. If all the assessments are increased by everything else remaining the same, the budgets and everything else, if all assessments are increased by 2% and the tax rate will go down by the 2%, nobody's taxes will change. Again, that's given the budgets are flat. This is a zero-sum game, is how they call it, and so you're not in it to make any money. This is just an allocation of the property taxes. That's the way that it works. So why are we doing this year? And why did we do the reassessment last year? And why we plan on the same non-reappraisal reassessment going forward? Number one, right now we're maintaining assessed values at 100% of market value. So it's clear for the public to understand. It's easier for you to budget because of your creating stability. And we're trying to maintain uniformity throughout the town. Since seeing as though the last time we did this reassessment, it was 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, right? Okay. So how is this accomplished? As you can see, you have in your possession a proposal from GAR Associates. They're a revaluation reassessment, non-reassessment firm. They are out of Amherst, New York. They put in a proposal to work on the statistical trends along with me, my team, and the assessment department, and also the state. We will all be working in conjunction with Glenn to make the determination what market trends occurred, if any. All of the work that is being done right now will be given to the assessor, and he will make the determination as to putting them on the assessment rolls or not. We're just making recommendations. So the next reassessment that we're looking at, or that we had previously talked about, was in the 6th year, which would be 2022. We'll see how the market, if the market is flat, then there's no need to go forward with that whole entire process. We won't know that until the year before. Plenty of time for budgeting, just to let you know. As far as where we are right now with the process and procedures and the policies, we are going to have a meeting at the beginning of, as soon as you approve GAR, with them as our kickoff meeting. We will be holding public information sessions. That will be done in-house, whether it is just me if Glenn's not available. Glenn and I both will be together. We want the public to be aware of what's going on, what transpired, what's happening today, and what's happening tomorrow. So we need the public, the taxpayer, to understand this whole entire process. We don't want the sticker shocks, some of which occurred last year. If we maintain these values going forward at a current market value, that won't happen again. These meetings that we're talking about holding, Glenn, we're inviting ourselves back to the town board. We would like to speak with the real estate companies. We would like to speak with civic groups, Chamber of Commerce. We would like to be invited to these different places. So if you know of anybody, please contact Glenn and we can schedule that. We'll just invite ourselves there, or we'll do it by appointment. And again, the assessor's office is always open to answer some questions as far as that's concerned. We plan on, just to let you know, if anybody's watching that owns commercial property, we are sending out probably by the 2nd week in November, 3rd week, we will be sending out income and expense questionnaires for the commercial properties to be filled out and turned back into the assessor's office. This is all for this analysis. This is a procedure that has been implemented in the assessor's office, and we'll be maintaining that going forward.
Every year.
Every year, yeah. So again, like we said, real quick, the GAR Associates put in their proposal to do the analysis, the statistical analysis. In short, they will be looking at all of the residential properties and the vacant land properties by neighborhood to make a determination if there's been the market trends. They are going to look at the property sales that have occurred over the last 3 years, again, because we did that already. And they're going to be making a determination or making recommendations to the assessment department as of the neighborhoods and the way that they've been delineated, making recommendations for any changes if necessary. So, and the assessment roll, the calendar, I'm going to let Glenn talk about the process of that. Just the calendar when the roll comes out.
Yeah, the change of assessment notices, if there's going to be changes in assessments from this trend, they would be out by the end of April of 2018. That's when whoever has changes would get those notices. The next step, if they feel that assessment is incorrect, they can come to the Board of Assessment Review, which meets on the fourth Tuesday in May every year. An application is needed to meet with that board or to at least have them review your application to make a decision on the information that the public presents to support a lower assessment. So that's always the fourth Tuesday in May, as I said. After the board deliberates on those applications, their decisions are mailed out. The next step is the final assessment roll comes out on July 1st. From that, our school tax bills are printed in September, and the process moves on. January of 2019, again, would be the county and town tax bills.
Based on the revised, yeah.
Based on the revised numbers.
So just to wrap it up really quick, that we will be working, like I said earlier, we're working in conjunction with the assessor, the state representatives, whom I believe have, well, they've definitely been here and you know them all. We're working with them. We, my team, and GAR Associates and the assessor, we are running, we will have 3 independent studies done to determine what the market values are. That's the best way to ensure that we're heading in the right direction. So like I said, if the assessments all increase at that, whatever that percentage is, and the tax rate will decrease because your budgets are going to remain. Nobody's taxes will go up if everything remains constant. On the same token, if it's been determined that the market has gone down, the assessments will reflect that, and don't think that your taxes are going to go down because they're not. So, okay, any questions?
I don't have any. Susie? Do you have any?
No, well, it's similar to this. Did we ever receive the check that we were supposed to get the money back for getting the?
Each
doing it-
parcel, per
Yeah,
parcel?
per
So-
parcel.
State aid, no, we have not.
It's the reassessment state aid, and the way that
Right.
it works with the state is that you put in the application, which was
Which we
done.
did.
Yep, absolutely. And the state has a pool of money, and they make a determination as to who and how they're gonna disseminate that money. It is a maximum of $5 per parcel.
Right.
So in the town, it equates to about $65,000. It's a pretty decent amount of money.
Yeah.
If we get all $5, and again, it depends, big part of it depends on whether New York City is reassessing that particular year or not. So they'll make that determination. We put the application in last year. We finished the roll in 2017. You probably realistically will not see that money until 2018.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we get it when we do the cyclical also, or is it just a one-time deal?
The $5 per parcel max is the one-time deal.
Okay.
The cyclical reassessment maxes out at, I'm sorry, I can't even say this with a straight face. It maxes out at $2 per parcel.
All right. Well, it's better than nothing.
Oh, yeah.
If we're gonna do it.
It doesn't pay
whatever
for our
we can back.
reassessment, but it does help
Yeah.
offset a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Perfect, thank you.
Great. Any questions? John, do you have any? Okay.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Edie. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, that wraps up the agenda items for this evening's Town Board work session. At this time, I'm going to ask if there's any members of the public that are here with us tonight would like to come up and make any comments on the agenda items only at this time that we covered. Jerry, agenda item? Okay.
My name is Jerry Revnesky. I live in Mahopac. I have a couple of questions. In regard to the proposed Carmel Recreation Center, I was just wondering if there was any list of possible activities that might be conducted within that center. For example, will there be a facility for performing arts, say, which is not available in the town now, and perhaps that would be something that many people in the community and even outside the community might want to attend. There are in other communities, they have concerts, they have plays, a variety of activities like that that might be very helpful, and perhaps even things that might raise some money for the town as well, to so that the operation of the facility would be covered by some of these admission fees. I was wondering if you know about the kinds of things that might be used, that it might be used for.
Yeah, but Bob can.
Yeah, you can answer it, David.
That was one of the goals, actually, when we put it together. It's going to be your typical gymnasium in the middle, completely surrounding the gymnasium. There's going to be a number of utility rooms for a number of different uses. There's going to be a stage there for performances and stuff. And the rooms can be changed. The building is going to be the square footage that it's going to be. And if we decide at that point we want to have a 20 by 25 for the seniors when they meet there, there's going to be classes where they, hopefully, as you said, maybe we're going to have some yoga classes. There'll be some fee classes. There'll be different things like we do now with up there where they have classes with Sycamore Park. It's a little smaller right now. The goal is to make it obviously larger, bigger programs, and make it user-friendly for all age groups. So the answer to your questions is yes, and if you have anything particular that you're interested in, by all means, submit it to us. And the rooms are very large, and they have not directly been designated particularly for any one item or one usage, and we can, by all means, consider any requests that you have.
Yeah, and I certainly think it's prudent to have the senior citizens have their facility there and not have to pay the fee to the fire department for that. One other thing I was thinking of in terms of the town buying automobiles and various vehicles, I was wondering if there has ever been consideration to look into some of the organizations that have reliability studies of vehicles. Do they have frequent problems, or do they last a long time? That might be one consideration that might have financial implications. And also to look into the miles per gallon, and that might have an implication for the cost of operating the vehicles. And as I said a while back, in any situation where electric vehicles might be used, certainly that would be financially advisable, I think. And in terms of the police having vehicles that are safe, I think that's really essential, and I don't think we need to skimp on that. I think that's important that we have that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry. Anyone else?
Hi, good evening, Judy Mira Carmel. First, I'd like to congratulate Susie McDonough on her reelection, and Michael Barilli on his election. We really look forward to the new direction that our community will go in. So congratulations to both. As long as we're talking about the parks, one thing that has come to my attention that residents have on my page have contacted me about has to do with walking dogs and what's left. And parents that were very concerned because they found it on school grounds, they have found it on the sports fields where parents are cleaning it out of their kids' cleats. I know there's a fine, I know there's an ordinance or something that goes. Are there signs at schools that you're not allowed to walk? I mean, other than appealing to the dog walkers, to the owners, whose of course responsibility it is, this is a real problem. And I know somebody was talking about, I don't know if I overheard it on the planning board today when I was watching it on TV, there were just piles, so.
Just have to be responsible, you know, it's ridiculous. They have
was,
the little doggy bags, bring them in.
I was actually
come up.
picking up some trophies for a soccer team that I coach on Monday night, and I was talking it over in regards to airport fields in particular. And I have experienced that myself. That's where we practice, that's where we play. It's really unacceptable. One of the solutions that I had briefly discussed was in regards to just having a simple thing at, like you see at every veterinarian. Post, bag container, sign right there. And we should probably put one at the entrance and one on the back end as well, where people will come up from the lake. But it is definitely something that we need to address. And unfortunately, it really just comes down to people being responsible and being respectful and being courteous to everyone else.
Absolutely.
I know while I was practicing, I had to ask two people if they could get their dog on the leash because they're just running over, because little kids want to play with dogs. Dogs want to play with little kids, and it's, unfortunately, it's a big distraction. We do have a leash law. Is it 6 foot, John? Red? I can't remember. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Tastes better.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to come up on just the agenda items only at this time? Okay, there being none, we're going to move to the open forum portion of the meeting where you can come up and discuss new business with the town board. It has to be town-related business. You must be a property owner, taxpayer, come on up, Mike, resident of the town of Carmel in order to address the board.
Good evening, Mike Stern. I'm speaking on behalf of Mike Borelli tonight. He's sorry he couldn't be here. He promised my kids a trip, and he said if it wasn't for them, you know, he'd be here tonight. Regarding the contract that you guys went over in your 6:30 executive session, he had a chance to review it yesterday, and he was pretty adamant about it. Like, for the record, he finds that the contract is unacceptable in its current written form. So that's what he wanted me to relay, okay? Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. All right, is there anyone else here for new business, open forum?
Hi again. I know I've brought this up before, but it's come to my attention again, and residents have sent me pictures in various places in Mahopac or behind where they're living. I think it's behind Lake Lenida. There's a real water problem that people are sending me pictures of dirty water, rusty water. Someone told me it's been going on for 2 years. I know they've notified, I don't know their names, you know, I don't have it written down, but they've certainly notified the board. It's so frustrating for them with the amount of taxes that are paid. The least anybody should expect is you turn on a faucet and you get clean, clear water out of it. So what is being done? I know you've done flushing. I know there are things that are being done, but 2 years of dirty water?
I think.
You have, you've authorized the analysis part of the study, where you're going to cut pipe coupons at about, I think there were 10 locations in the general reported problem areas within the district. And that is for the purpose of analyzing the transmission main for the purposes of either lining it, structurally lining it, or actually replacing it. And that's scheduled to start next week. And I believe, I forgot you were still here. You can come tell. You say?
didn't
I
see
forgot
you back
Rich is
there,
still here.
sorry. I didn't see you back there again.
Blending in. So yes, so to follow up on Greg's point, the first section of pipe was cut out today. And we're gonna do about 5 total. We've located different areas where they were plastic pipes, so we've had other pipes that we've cut out in the past, so we're in the process of reviewing, as Greg said, the integrity of the walls of the pipe to see if we can either reline or have to replace. So right now, the hope is to have to reline it because it would be less disruptive to homeowners, so.
Okay, thank
Judy,
you. It's good.
a coupon is just a section of the pipe that's cut out.
Thank you.
It's excavated, and then they can analyze the interior of the pipe through that coupon. It's done in various areas to determine if it's, the problem is extensive throughout the district, or it's just limited to one section.
So do they have to dig all of that up and place them on top, or they can place them like ground level and reline them or replace them? How does that?
Well,
Those are in place thing.
Go ahead, Greg,
Go
sorry.
The relining would be in place. If they're going to actually physically replace the pipe, that's an entirely different story and a bigger undertaking. The coupons are 10-foot sections of the pipes that are going to be excavated, cut, analyzed, and there'll be temporary service provided while they're doing the coupon cuts for the.
We have a line put in place of, so we're cutting a piece out, we're putting another piece back in of PVC pipe. And that's the process we're going through right now. There's a temporary interruption of water service right now when that's happening, because we have to be able to access the line to cut it and take it out and replace it. So the relining, as Greg said, happens in place. And what temporary water would be provided to residents at that time that would run above ground while the lines are being, relined. If that's the case. If not, same thing would happen if we're replacing the pipe. We'd have to have, if we're replacing the pipe, we can dig another trench next to it, abandon the existing one, and put in a pipe next to it. So you'd still maintain water supply, put in a new water supply, go through the, the decontamination, making sure that it's bacteria-free, and then be able to put that line back online.
So the residents all get prior notification that this is
Well,
happening
yeah,
in
this
there,
is gonna be
obviously.
a bigger project than, just where we're at right now. It's a minor inconvenience to certain residents because we're just off certain valves. But yes, as we're moving forward, there'll be better communication with folks once we decide what the process is moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Just one other quick question on the GAR proposal. I noticed that it said for public meetings, to attend public meetings, they get $1,000 a meeting. They get it?
I just circled that, too.
That's up to, it could be 3 representatives of the company. So again, that would be a max if all.
Edie's not
3
allowing
came.
them to come here. I'll just say that. Edie's going to be presenting for us at the public meetings. We don't want to spend $1,000 for them to come down here and talk to us. We have Edie, we have Glenn, they'll take care of it. If we really, really need them to be down here, we'll spend that money, but no. There's, I think, 3 different proposals that are actually on this for 3 different price points, and we are looking at the 3rd option because McCarthy Appraisal is going to be working on the commercial side, as well as our assessor will be working on that. So we are definitely not looking to spend that money.
Okay, I would hope not.
All right.
Save where you can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else perform new business portion of the meeting? Bob?
Only kidding. So I see you spoke about a contract in executive session. Are you allowed to speak about that or no tonight? I see John Folchetti, the engineer. Can that be discussed or no?
It's his renewal. He's the current contractual engineering firm, and his term is up December 31st, and so we're looking at renewal options for 2018.
Okay. I just want to say for the record, I had a opportunity to work with John over the last 2 years, and in fact, Councilwoman McDonough set meetings up for us at 7 in the morning quite often to go over issues, and he always made himself available. I thought he worked very professionally. I work with Rich back there, Franzetti, and when I work with these guys, just like I like to make jokes about attorneys, I know attorneys charge an exorbitant amount of fees to hire them by the hour, and engineers charge more. And I know some guys that got there's some major developers, and they tell me their biggest expense is their engineers. And when they tell me what they pay them a month, I almost fall over backwards. So I think if you have a consultant at a reasonable rate, and you build it into your budget, you know what you're paying, and he's providing an excellent service for the town. My experiences with John Fulchetti and your staff back there, Rich Vanzetti, has been wonderful. I think they're professional. And I almost would ask you, because I hear people sometimes say we may not need certain engineers. I would say maybe at some point you should take their work, write it down, and wonder what it would cost you to outsource that work and how much money you're really saving with a guy like Rich Vanzetti in-house, who's Johnny on the spot, versus calling somebody. Again, I call him quite often with recreation issues throughout all the parks. He makes himself available. He's very professional. And call up John. John will be there at 7 in the morning. Sue can verify it. We've had our meetings. We've had major issues. Said we needed to move things along. They said, when do you want to meet? 7 in the morning, said, we'll be there. So my experience from the position as the chairman of your recreation committee and getting advice from both of them, having them available at all times, I couldn't imagine if you had to pay them by the hour, you guys would probably be saying, stop calling these guys. So they're available, they're professional, and they're very responsive. So I just want to let you know, I think they do a very good job. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, thanks, Bob. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else here for open forum portion of the meeting, new business? Okay, there being none, I just have, I have one announcement. Recreation Department asked me to announce this. It's Breakfast with Santa. You may think it's a little early, but the reason I'm announcing this now is because space is very limited, so they're asking people to sign up early. So if you sign up early, you'll be able to bring your children over. Kids will have a good time with Santa. The date is Sunday, December 10th. The time is 10 a.m. at Sycamore Park. It's at 790 Long Pond Road. The price is $9 for residents, ages 2 and up. This is with a 2017 resident registration fee, and it's $15 for non-residents. So join us for Breakfast with Santa, crafts, and more. A great photo opportunity. Make sure to bring your camera. Reservations are required, and space is limited. You can register online at www.carmelny.org/recreation. For more information, please call the Recreation Office at 628-7888. 628-7888. So I'll be announcing this again, but if you want to, ensure that you're going to be able to bring your children over there, I would registration early, and they're encouraging people to sign up early as well. So, also, Carmel Town Hall offices will be closed this Friday, November 10th, 2017. This is observance of Veterans Day. Offices will reopen Monday, November 13th at 8:30 a.m. So we're closed this Friday, November 10th, for Veterans Day. And speaking of Veterans Day, Jonathan, the services will be this Saturday?
Yeah, we have, I believe, 2 parades going on this Saturday over at the VFW post in downtown Mahopac. The lineup is at 10, but I think 10 is when it starts off, and by about 10:10, it's
We
about
march down to the memorial, to the monument, and the services actually commence there at 11 a.m. So it's 11 a.m. So that's this coming Saturday. Please make every effort to come out. It's Veterans Day. This is the town and our community's way of thanking our veterans for all their service to this nation as a member of the armed forces. And this is the way we thank them and appreciate them for all the service and sacrifices that they've made to protect the freedoms and the rights that we have in this country. If it wasn't for our veterans, things would be totally different in this country. So you really need to come out and join us on this Saturday at 11 a.m. at the War Memorial right over here on East Lake Boulevard, opposite McDonald Marina and CVS, to personally be there to thank the members of the service for their sacrifices to this nation. I know, Jonathan, you attend.
I'll be there.
With the VFW.
And then also the American Legion, the Marne Post, which is the Hamlet of Carmel at the VFW, at the hall up there, they also have a ceremony usually on Veterans Day as well.
Yeah,
which,
so it's the same time. It's
Yeah, they're all at the same
November
time,
11th
so
at
if you're in
11
the
a.m.
Hamlet of Carmel, Hamlet of Mahopac, Hamlet of Mahopac Falls, there's something, and, yeah, come out, support veterans, and just say thank you. Means
And
a
we'll
lot.
have wreaths, the town of Carmel will provide wreaths at both ceremonies. The one up at the VFW in Carmel on Main Street in the Hamlet, and the one over here will have the wreath there as well, representing the town of Carmel. So, thank you so much for that. Do board members have any other announcements that they'd like to make? All right, we do have executive session tonight. We're going into, with our town comptroller, Mary Ann Maxwell, to discuss budget year fiscal 2018 personnel items on the budget. We're going to be closing the meeting from executive session. We're not going to be coming back out here. The next time we're going to be here for a public meeting is next Wednesday, November 15th, and that's for a voting meeting where the town board is expected to adopt the budget for next year as well. So good night, everyone. Be well. I need a motion. to go into
Motion,
executive.
so moved.
Okay, made a motion by Councilman Schneider, second by Councilman Lupinacci. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Good night, everyone. Be well.